Okay, good morning everyone. My presentation is over the Incan rituals. And to begin, I'd kind of like to start with a joke because some of the rituals get kind of intense. So it's really corny, just to warn you. So it says, today in history class, the topic was Incas. Hoping to see if the students have done their reading, the teacher asked him, so where can the Incas be found? And she called on the student that wasn't paying attention, and she responded in the pen. Because like Incas, ink in the pen. It was the only ink joke online. There wasn't. Okay, yeah. So anyway, starting off with that, I'd like to talk to you guys about three main Incan rituals, or the most infamous. Trepanation, which is where they drill a hole into your skull to help relieve pressure. Inti Rami, sorry for my pronunciation, and that's just to celebrate the day of the sun god. And the final one is Capitona, and that is child sacrifice. Let's begin with the first one. So this is just like an Incan skull, and this is what they would do. So what happens is if someone, according to the Huffington Post and also PBS, the Nova Discovery on Incan civilization, if you were to retrieve cranial trauma, they would cut a part of your skull out because they believe that would help. But what happens is that they don't know a lot about the procedure since they're just starting to find artifacts now, but they do know that the Rumi knife would be used to help like cut open the scalpel, but they don't know what tool they would use to actually cut the cranial bone. But this is actually the first skull surgery ever recorded in history, and it also had 90% success rate, which is interesting considering they didn't have any of the modern anesthetics or the modern antibiotics to help treat afterwards. So what happens is when you cut the hole, it relieves the cranial pressure, and it also just negates the cranial surgery. So what happens is that if you were to have like seizures, or you would be complaining of like spirits that harm you, they would drill into your brain. So they believe that the evil spirits would either be warded out, or it actually helped medically. So, and this one they believe to have seizures because they drilled one or more holes. So they think that the repeated drilling of the holes would help treat seizures. So, and that's just the final picture. So the next tradition that I will be talking about is called Inti Rami, and according to Discover Peru, this is the festival for the sun god in Neat, I-N-T-I, in Neat, I think that's how you pronounce it. So this festival would last 9 days, and it would be in the main central plaza of Cusco, Peru. There would be a 3-day fasting period prior to this, and they would only eat maize and eat this herb called chichan. But then once like the first day of the ceremony, the Sapa Inca would come to drink chichi de cora, and that is the main Incan emperor, or like the royalty. And so then all the nobility would come out on stage and drink, and they would dance to shows and to like and have music, and the four suyas from the village, so there would be 4 corners, and so each village would offer up a daughter to be sacrificed, which will be my next point, so I'll get to that. And they would have celebrations, and they would dance, and a majority of the celebration was focused for the males to come into their manhood, and it would be celebrated every year on June 24th because they believed that it was the sun god. That was like his holiday. And they would also sacrifice a black llama, and it had to be black. I don't know why, it didn't really say, but it's always black, and they would cut open their organs and use it to predict the future for the next year, and then they would incinerate it, and that was that. So my third and final point is, I guess, the most intense of the Incan rituals, and it is Capitona, and that is child sacrifice. And not a lot is known about it, except that it was prominently, like it was predicted to be religiously affiliated, and that they are finding more as they discovered mummies within the Incan ruins. So according to Nova, the PBS channel, this was the child mummy who was found, and this was the doll that was buried with her. That was her form of preservation. But this is what oh, that was her afterwards. This is what she was supposed to look like as a recopied image. And so what happened is that the fathers would offer up their daughters to be taken to the village, and they thought it was a huge honor, and they would be led from the place where they would be with the emperor to talk about the religious aspects, and then they would go through their home village, and then they would be given a drink called chicha, and it was just alcohol, and they'd be put in a little room about like that, and they would basically just suffocate to death. And then they'd come back and they would mummify the body because they thought it was just very, a very high honor, very high esteem. And they, like I said, they don't know a lot about how many mummies, but they're starting to find a lot more. So it's just very interesting. And this is a picture of her again when she was found. So she was obviously in a fetal position since she was in a cramped space. So overall, the Incas were very interesting people with rich history, and I picked, of course, the three most interesting rituals to me because they're just such a rich culture. It was really hard to pick, and I thought it was very interesting. And so going back to my my joke, the Incas are not just found within the pen, but they're actually a people of Peru who live in Cusco, and they are very smart people as seen by the cranial surgery, and they're also very religious as seen by the Inishirami tradition as well as the Capichona child sacrifice. So in conclusion, just be able to appreciate your own culture and your own rituals, even if they may seem a little weird or intense. If that's what you grow up to believe, then you